Now, that is a quality baseball win. What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome in to the Seattle Mariners post-game recap. The Mariners crushed the Red Sox tonight, 8-0. They improved to 37-35 on the season. And I believe they do retake the third wild card spot. I'm not going to focus too much on the playoff positions. I think it's going to be a back and forth summer. I still think the division's in play. The Mariners are going to be out of a spot, in a spot. It's going to be wild here for the next few months. Best to just let baseball play out and take its course a little bit. Before I go any further, do me a favor, hit that like button. It helps a lot. Subscribe if you're new or lurking, still trying to get to 5,000 subs. And don't forget to leave your comments on the team and on the game down below. Complete team effort today. The big heroes, obviously, Cal Raleigh. Nice bounce back game. It's been a rough couple weeks for the dumper. Maybe rough is a little harsh, but didn't have a great road trip. Didn't do much in the Cleveland series. I do think he was still working some walks, doing a good job behind the plate. So it's more of a Cal struggle, for him than it was just an overall struggle. But he goes 3 for 4 today, single, double, the grand slam, 6 RBIs. Great game, an MVP type performance from the MVP, Cal Raleigh. Bryan Woo should not be forgotten in this game. 7 shutout innings, only allowing the 1 hit and 2 walks. Good to see Woo not have that kind of one inning where the game got away from him a little bit. Did not have that today. He was dominant. And everybody chipped in a little bit today. I think he got a little bit from everybody in the lineup at least, and a complete team victory. And a good one too, because you're going to face a tough customer in Garrett Crochet tomorrow. You had lost yesterday, so you certainly, if you would have lost this one, you would not have felt good going into tomorrow afternoon's contest against Crochet. Mariners do secure a winning homestand. Hopefully they can find a way tomorrow. Luis Castillo's been solid. If he can give you 5 or 6, the bullpen should be good to go. Spire, Brash, Munoz pitched today, but he should be fine for tomorrow. Vargas should all be able to give you some innings tomorrow. The Mariners did get some runs off Crochet earlier in the year in Fenway, so it's not impossible that they win it. But they do secure a winning homestand here. Worst case is going to be 4-2. Hopefully they win tomorrow. But listen, Mariners can go 4-2 every pocket of 6 games. They'll be just fine, right? Like that will win you a lot of baseball games. So if they do happen to, miss the playoffs, it won't be because of a 4-2 homestand that took place here. It'll be other factors that play a role there. Sometimes these games are tougher to talk about because it was great from the start, right? The Mariners put up 5 runs in the second inning. They hit with runners in scoring position today. Something we've talked about. It's been a little frustrating for the team. So they got all over Walker Buehler. It's frustrating yesterday. They couldn't get to Giolito, who I don't think has been great this year. I should have mentioned that Giolito did pitch really well in his previous start before yesterday. So, maybe he's finding a little bit of a hot streak. Buehler, you can't say Buehler without a Ferris Bueller reference, but he was, I lost my train of thought, really good, I think, too, in his last start. So, and the Red Sox have been hot. They have won, it's like 7 out of 8 or something. And the one loss was, a close game. So they've been playing really good baseball coming in here. So good for the Mariners to kind of humble them. And like I said, we got a little bit of everything. We had a Rowdy Tellez stolen base in this game. So, literally you had something for everybody in this one for the Mariners. But like I said, sometimes these games are tougher to talk about because it's a good win, right? This is just quality, top to bottom. That it was fun. It felt kind of over by the second. I think we all felt pretty good with Bryan Woo on the bump here, despite his last couple starts where he's had kind of that blow up inning. I think we all still have a lot of faith in Bryan Woo for sure. And it's certainly, again, none of these wins. Well, you start putting them together, it does, but Mariners still, I think are at a little bit of a tough stretch, but it looks like they're coming out of it. The last 5 games, like I said, 4-1. So starting to come out of a rough stretch a little bit. And, listen, I think the team kind of is what it is. It's not a bad thing. I think they can be really good. I still think they're going to be susceptible to some tough stretches as we've seen, just kind of how they're built. Luke Raley, I think had 3 hits today in Tacoma. I would assume he'll be back on the next road trip. Be interesting to see what the roster decision is going to be when Luke Raley comes back. My guess is that they probably option Mastroboni, who's actually done a nice job for them. He really has. But Dylan Moore can pinch run and play the infield. I think you have enough guys there to fill that role. So that would be my guess, is that Mastrobuoni. I mean, who else are you going to send down? I know Dylan Moore is really scuffling, but you're not sending Dylan Moore down unless maybe there's an injury, maybe someone's hurt. I could see that. I guess you could send Canzone down. He does become a little redundant with Rayleigh here, but I wouldn't be against Rayleigh playing some first base either. Actually, wouldn't think it would be the worst thing to give Canzone some first base reps if they could as well. So it'll be interesting. I think Canzone's shown enough where I would like to see him stick, but you can make a case with Luke Rayleigh. What's the point? They both kind of play the same position. But I'd rather have Dom off the bench late than Mastrobuoni. Mastrobuoni's he's been fine, right? Like, he's been a decent player, and he's done everything you've kind of asked him to do. But if Dom pinch hits late for Williamson or something, you have that chance of the home run. And I think that's always kind of what you're looking for late in games. Someone that can go up there and run into one. And I think you're better off with Dom Canzone on the bench. Mastrobuoni, I'm sure, is the better defender and can play the infield as well. But I think I'd keep Dom. But that's, at the end of the day, Luke Rayleigh coming back would be the most important thing. The roster decision doesn't really matter all that much. So some good things happening for the Mariners. Yesterday, Logan Gilbert looked great. In his return, George Kirby's looked better. Woo has a great start today. The offense is starting to bounce back here a little bit. Cole Young starting to hit here. He goes 2 for 3 with a double, a single, and a walk. So he's starting to come into his own a little bit. Ben Williamson can play good defense. I still think his at-bats have been pretty decent. Just not a lot of pop there, but I think he's been fine. If you can get Dylan Moore going a little bit here, that would be a big boost. But I think right now the team's in pretty decent shape. I don't know. Every time I think positively, this team drops 8 out of 10. And every time I'm done, they win 8 out of 10. So, I don't really know. This next road trip for the Mariners is kind of a perfect microcosm of how I view this team. It's a tough road trip. They're going to go to Wrigley Field for 3 to play a good Cubs team, Minnesota for 3, or I think 4 in Minnesota. That's always feels like it's always a house of horrors for the Mariners, but it's a good Twins team. And then Texas for 3. Now, outside of the Cubs, I don't think the Twins and Rangers are, World Series contenders. I don't think they're that much different than the Mariners, essentially. I mean, the way they get to their record may be different, but overall, I think they're similar teams. This is a road trip where if things go right, the Mariners could go 6-4, 7-3, and I would not be completely shocked. But it's also a road trip where if you just miss a couple things or you're a little bit off, 2-8 is not out of the question either, right? You could play decent ball in Wrigley Field and get swept. You could lose 3 1-2-run games. You could go to Minnesota, hang with them, lose 3 out of 4. So my point there is this road trip coming up is going to be a very fine line for the Mariners. I think it's a really big road trip. Talked about it last week too. They play a lot of wild card contenders here. Minnesota, Texas, Kansas City's coming up, Boston here, Cleveland last series. Not only do you want to win those games to win the games, but for tiebreakers too, right? Right now, the Mariners are 3-2 against Boston on the year. They win tomorrow, they have the tiebreaker over the Red Sox. They have the tiebreaker over Cleveland right now. They do not. They have it over Minnesota right now. Toronto, they don't due to that sweep. But it is kind of interesting how with these series, that there's not only is the game important, but there's other things like Baltimore, Arizona were big series, not only again, because you want to win them, but Baltimore and Arizona are 2 teams you want selling at the deadline because they have the most to offer in terms of deadline sellers, in my opinion. That makes sense. The Ryan O'Hearns, the Josh Naylors, the Geno Suarez's, the Gregory Sotos, the Ramon Urias's, guys like that. So when you lose to teams like that, not only does it not get you a victory, but it gets them back into it. So important on many stretch here on many levels for our Seattle Mariners. But no, tremendous performance today all around. Let's go ahead and dive into the box score here. Bryan Woo throws 86 pitches, 7 shutout innings, 1 hit, 2 walks, 6 Ks. I thought Woo had no hit stuff. The first inning was actually a little shaky. Duran hit one to pretty deep center field. I think he walked Toro, but then he got Anthony and Narvaez out and kind of settled in there a little bit. When he was through 4 innings without giving up a hit, and then it was Mayer that led off the 5th with a base hit. you never get 4 innings is not, where you start talking about no hitters, but I did think there was a chance. And Bryan Woo is efficient enough guy where he could get you through 9 innings. Like, I do think if there's a pitcher that's going to throw a no hitter on the Mariners, Woo would I mean, they all could, but like Woo would definitely be one of the leading candidates for it. I thought it was there. And when you get those big leads, teams start chasing a little bit more. Everyone wants to go home. So, I thought it might be in the bag for Woo. And that hit by Mayer that he gave up, the only one that he surrendered in this ball game. Casey Legumina throws a shutout 8th inning with 2 strikeouts. And then Munoz finishes it off with a shutout inning, allowing a hit and 2 strikeouts. Also saw the changeup a little bit from Munoz. Munoz did throw 18 pitches, so he should be good for tomorrow. He had a lot of rest. I was a little skeptical going to Munoz just because you dread in these games when it's 8-0, and me and Mariner Sir were talking about it, where if Munoz got to 20 pitches and only had like 1 out, I would have taken him out of the game just because you don't want to not have him for tomorrow. You want all hands on deck in that game tomorrow against Boston. So had Munoz like walk to the next guy or something, I would have pulled him with 2 outs. You don't want him throwing 25, 30 pitches, but he also hasn't pitched in forever. So you've got to give him, some outings to pitch in. But great job by the staff today. Like I said, only 2 hits allowed. And then they also only walked 2 and strike out 10. Great job by the Mariners pitching staff. Offense, like I said, 9 hits, 6 walks, so 15 base runners, 8 runs. JP again, quietly on base 3 times. He has a hit, 2 walks, 2 runs. JP has been so good. It's a shame that I don't think he'll get into the All-Star game just because the name recognition of some guys, and guys are having a great season, not taken away from them. But, Jacob Wilson's probably going to make it. Bobby Witt, Gunnar Henderson. I know I'm missing somebody else. So for Jeremy Pena is having a great season with Houston. So it's going to be very, very tough. But man, JP deserves it. And he's almost hitting 300. Talk about something that's a forgotten art in baseball. I mean, you go watch games from like 2006, 2007, and even hitters at the bottom of the order are hitting like 268. It's like, oh man, it's your 9-hole hitter. Nowadays, like nobody hits close to 3. I'm looking at both these lineups, and there's not a single regular. Toro's hitting 308, but I don't think he has many at-bats for Boston. So the fact that JP is doing an OBP and average is huge. I'm a batting average is overrated guy, but it is nice to see some throwbacks sometimes. Julio goes 1 for 3 with a walk. Still having some at-bats that kind of make me go, stop chasing these pitches. He had runners at the corners, nobody out, and, grounded out on a pitch and didn't get the run in. But then it's like, he gets a solid line drive up the middle, works a walk. Julio's 4 at-bats. He reaches base twice, made a tremendous catch in the outfield, continues to play great center field. My thing on Julio is this. I don't get into it a lot. Like, do I wish he was better with the bat? Of course. Like, 733 OPS is not what we expected from Julio. Like, we kind of expected him to be, a perennial MVP hitter. But he is a good baseball player, right? Like, Julio is really good. He's a great defender. He's a great on the base paths. Now, I think people that would argue things would say, listen, that stuff will, decline over time, and it will, right? Like, I do think the bat could be better. I will not sit here and say that, like, oh, he's just a perfect player and how dare anybody speak negatively. Like, there are flaws in his swing and his game that are very frustrating. But I think if you take a step back and look at baseball as a whole, I mean, you just don't have some of these offensive players that you used to have in the past. Julio is a really good baseball player. I still think probably a borderline all-star this year. Doesn't mean that it's again, like, a lot of these things in sports are not black and white to me. There's things in life that are black and white. Things in sports have a lot of gray. There's some black and white, right? Like, there's no debating that Cal Raleigh's really good. That is not up for debate. Cal Raleigh is amazing. But I think Julio has some gray, right? I think people that are critical are not wrong. But I do think there's some critics that are over the top. Like, I have seen, not really my comments, but just in general, like, some send him to AAA stuff. It's like, I mean, like, what? Who's going to play center field? Like, who are you putting in there? You think Samad Taylor is going to be better than Julio? Like, come on, right? Like, there's none of that, but there is room for improvement for Julio as well. So I think it's one of those things where the truth, as always, kind of lies in the middle somewhere. Like I said, that the defenders are correct too. I think there is sometimes too much hate on Julio, but I also think that, there are very fair criticisms as well. I'd like to see a little bit more. at the plate at times for sure. But I also understand that, he is a good baseball player. Miles Mastroboni, pinch hits for him, goes 0 for 1. Cal Raleigh, 3 for 4, 6 RBIs, the grand slam, the double, single, 2 runs scored. OPS close to being back up to 1,000. Tremendous game from the MVP. Polanco goes 0 for 2 at the sac fly and a walk. Randy was 0 for 3. I think, was he hit by a pitch? No, he was not. Dylan Moore pinched hit for him. I don't even remember that happening. Was 0 for 1. Rowdy Tellez goes 1 for 4, the base hit. And Rowdy Tellez steals a bag. How about that? A stolen base from Rowdy Tellez. Extremely impressive. Fun to see. The big man was lumbering into second base there. So that was awesome. Cool for Rowdy. Canzone 1 for 4 with the double. No idea how he hit that pitch for a double. Ben Williamson 0 for 3 with a walk. And Cole Young, really solid game, 2 for 3 with the RBI double, a single, and a walk as well. So really nice performance from Cole Young at the bottom of the order, starting to hit the ball much harder. Been a lot more impressed with his at-bats recently. So really, really good to see. Great all-around victory for the Mariners. This one's fun. This is the one you put in your memory bank and you go, remember this one, as the season progresses, as one of the better wins of the year. So hopefully it continues. Hopefully they can win a series tomorrow. It's going to be very difficult, but if Castillo's up to the challenge, your bullpen should be good to go. Match Crochet. Maybe someone sneaks a run in. Maybe Julio runs into one tomorrow. Who knows? Garver had an RBI double off Crochet last time. Just saying. So you never know. Have a great night, everybody. Enjoy this one. Soak it in. Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, go Mariners. Peace.